Welcome to whoever's just joined us. It just says somebody's iPad, so welcome. I'm not sure of a name, but thanks for being here. I've just played a little clip of our Thailand adventure just to give you a sense of a Travel Queen tour. But as mentioned before, this event is going to be all about our Vietnam and Cambodia adventure. Just to reiterate as well, for people that don't already know, I imagine most people have probably been onto the website, but there is a Travel Queen website. You can go on there. All of our tours are on there. There's the Meet Real Travel Queens page, which I mentioned earlier. And just so you know, Travel Queen is basically a fully licensed tour operator. So we are part of the Travel Trust Association, which is basically another kind of equivalent of ABTA. Effectively, they're actually a little bit stricter. So all money basically is paid into a trust account, which is overseen by the Travel Trust Association. So it isn't just myself. We have the backing of this full, trade body. So you can rest assured that any money paid to Travel Queen has a sort of 100% financial protection guarantee. Everything, I won't bore you with the detail, but there's a lot of serious stuff behind the scenes to do with all of our suppliers, how they're selected and all that kind of stuff. So if you want to know any more about that, you can ask me, but there are details on the website. And you can go on the Travel Trust Association website as well and check out that Travel Queen is in fact a real certified member if you should so wish. So feel free to do that as well. So for anyone that's just joined us in the last sort of couple of minutes, so I run Travel Queen, as I mentioned earlier. All of the trips that I put together involves a huge amount of time for myself. I go out first, I reckon absolutely everything to the nth degree. Nothing makes it onto the tour unless I've checked it out in person. I'm pretty critical when it comes to checking things out to see if they get onto one of my tours. So if it's made it on there, it's either, I've experienced it, it gave me the feels, as I like to say, so I check everything out. If it doesn't sort of give me the feels, even if it's meant to be amazing, sometimes you go to see something that's on there as like an absolute must see, but then in reality you go and the fact that there's so many crowds and it's so overdone, actually it's not always what it's made out to be. So I pride myself on then finding an alternative or a company that perhaps has exclusive access to an area, little things like that. So all the way through, you can kind of rest assured that we've not just gone for the bog standard option, we've kind of gone to the next level to try and make it an absolutely best experience as possible. And also for anyone that doesn't realise, I do actually travel on all the tours as well as your group leader, which is pretty unique in the world of group tours. You normally have either a local guide or someone traveling on their summer holidays. So obviously I travel with you at the moment, so that to me really is an added bonus, because obviously there's no one more invested in you having an amazing time than the owner of the company. So I literally will be traveling with you and we'll be there to sort of, not that we really have any problems, but if there is anything to sort, to smooth that over. And also, just so you know, my kind of vision, if you like, for a group tour is for you to not feel like you're on a group tour, that you're actually just traveling with a new group of friends, that you start off and you don't really know anyone, but people tend to bond very quickly, feel quite relaxed, but they don't feel like they're being sort of marched around by a tour leader with, there's definitely no whistle, there's no uniform, there's no paddle, like follow me this way. We have small enough group sizes that we don't need to have kind of all that stuff to kind of keep everyone in line and in check. So that usually creates a nice atmosphere as well, so you don't sort of feel like you're being kind of marched about all over the place. But of course, I am always there to sort everything, take care of everything. You don't need to worry about a thing, basically. So our Vietnam and Cambodia adventure. I'm just going to play a little video. Like I said, this one doesn't have lots of people in it. Most of the people in there are myself or some local people that I've met whilst doing the trip. So I'll share that with you now, just to give you a bit of an overview. And then I'm going to be going through our itinerary in a bit more detail, sort of day by day, as to what we do, and share some pictures about things that we get up to, places we go, places we stay, and things like that. So I'm going to share my screen again. And now you should be able to see another happy woman with her hands in the air, looking at a fancy temple. Can everybody see that?
Yep.
Right, okay, so this is a little highlight, just a couple of minutes long, of Vietnam and Cambodia. is just a little overview. Hopefully that gets you in the mood, and I'm going to share my screen again. So now this is the Travel Queen website. So everything that I'm going to go through now, you can go back and have a look if you've not already been on there. There's a ton of information. But just to recap on the dates, so the next tours we've got are 25th of Feb to the 11th of March, and then 18th of March to the 1st of April. I know we've got quite a few people on this call that are on the March trip in particular. So Carly is on there, Victoria, Nikki, who we can't see at the moment. I know Rachel is thinking about the March trip. And there's a couple of other people. Oh, and also we've got Kim, who's joined us. Hi, Kim. Don't worry if your video's not on, just want to say hi.
Got it. Hello.
Hi. And I know, Amy, you're thinking about the February trip, aren't you? Yeah, so we've got a few different people there that are already got on are thinking of joining. So, yeah, so that's those are the dates. It's 15 days, so it's kind of real action-packed. You know, we do see a lot on this tour. We travel around a lot, but I have factored in, you know, carefully, like a bit of free time here and there as well. You know, and I do really carefully think about when we're traveling, how much we might have done, when you might be ready for a break. Generally speaking, the first part of trips are always kind of the most action-packed, when you're kind of full of beans and off ready to go. And generally speaking, we always on the Travel Queen tour as well have a bit of chill out time at the end, which on this tour we do on a really beautiful tropical island in Cambodia. So you have sort of 3 days at the end. While we're going through this, you're thinking, wow, this is amazing, but flipping out, that's a lot of stuff. You know, you will get kind of a little bit of chill out time as we go along, but especially at the end as well, before you come home, just to kind of chill and soak it up a little bit. So we go to 6 different destinations, and we basically, so this little map here shows you where we go. So we fly into North Vietnam. So we start in Hanoi, have a couple of nights there, go over to Ha Long Bay for a night. Then we travel down to Ninh Bình, which is still North Vietnam, then down to Central Vietnam, to Hoi An, and then we fly over to Cambodia to Siem Reap, and then finish on the island that I just mentioned, and obviously go through that in a bit more detail. So I'm going to make this smaller so you can just see the picture. So as we start off, so as well, if anyone has any questions, please feel free, or comments or anything, please feel free to just sort of chirp in and ask me as we go along, because it's nice to hear from other people rather than it just be me chatting the whole time. But I know most people will just want to kind of let me go, but please feel free to interrupt me and ask anything. And if you want to put any questions in the chat, I might not see them right now at the moment. If anyone else sees a message that I've not seen, please feel free to give me a nudge as well. So our first day, we'll start off in Hanoi. So I went to a couple of the main cities in Vietnam, went to Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh. I have to say Hanoi was by far my favorite. It was definitely a place where I just thought, wow, this is amazing. This is not like anywhere else I've been. Lots of kind of Chinese influence, right up there on the border, close to China. Really beautiful city, kind of a crazy city. This is the view of the city from our very beautiful hotel, which is right slap bang in the heart of Hanoi. So we have, you'll see pictures of this in a moment, but this is kind of the view that you can see over the city. So you'll fly into Hanoi, and then we can talk about flights and stuff like that later. But basically, we'll have that first day, have a chance to get picked up in from the airport and taken to the hotel. And then I think we've got pictures of the hotel in here. Oh, these are just a few pictures of Hanoi. So Hanoi is a really interesting place because you've got this very sort of Vietnamese kind of Chinese influenced city, but then you have a lot of French influence as well. So all of the buildings and architecture are really interesting. So you get like these kind of like little kind of crumbling kind of sort of buildings, and then you get like big kind of churches and things that look like something from the middle of Paris. So this is the infinity pool from the rooftop of our hotel. So that's quite a special little find. It's nice to head up there and kind of soak up where you are. These are the bedrooms in our hotel. So it's a 4-star hotel, very sort of oriental themed. And like I said, in a really, really central location for walking out to everything as well. And then in the evening, our first activity, we go straight in and we do a food and wine, just a street food tour basically of Hanoi, but we do it on these little Vespa scooters. So in Hanoi, the motorbike scene is everywhere you go, there's just motorbikes everywhere. So this feels very much like something to do as part of Hanoi. But these Vespa scooters, honestly, they're like the simplest, sort of safest little thing. You just kind of feel like you're, boogied around. You don't have to drive it yourself. You'll have a driver as well, a local Vietnamese person who's used to doing this every day. So they will drive. You'll each be on the back of one of these with your own driver, which I've tried out, as you can see. And they basically take us to all these cool little spots in Hanoi that you would probably never stumble across yourself, because as a tourist, you'd probably be looking more for those ones with a big shop front and a sign. So they take us to some of the best places in the city, which are more like the little kind of local street food places where locals go to. So it's a really famous place for noodles, or pho, as it's called in Vietnam, and loads of these little kind of soups and amazing food. It's great. But we also pass some like really cool sites like the palace. You can have a beer on the back of the bike if you like, chilled. But yeah, it's just like a really interesting place to bomb around. So it's kind of like a sightseeing trip in itself, and it's quite nice to see that at night when it's all lit up. But yeah, that's a good fun thing to do on the first night, just for a couple of hours, and then back to the hotel. And then the next day, we'll basically head out into Hanoi to explore. So there's lots of different temples and pagodas throughout Hanoi, and we'll basically have some time to head out and see those. So there's a couple of different things there to go and see, and you'll also have the opportunity, if you want to, it's not compulsory. So in Hanoi, in Vietnam in particular, you'll see lots of the local ladies dressed in these áo dai dresses, which are traditional Vietnamese dress. So we've arranged it with our local Vietnamese travel agent there, that if you want to, and we can sort this out in advance, sizes and things like that and designs, you can actually have the opportunity to choose a dress and do some of the sightseeing in the dress. So lots of the pictures that you see of Hanoi, you've got people stood in temples and stuff, kind of looking the part in these dresses. So we'll get those delivered to the hotel, kind of pre-picked beforehand. And so they'll be ready if you want to wear them to do that. Or you can just have a little try on in your room if you don't feel like you want to wear it for the day. But that's entirely optional, it's up to you. So this is one of the cathedrals that I mentioned that all of a sudden looks like you're not in Hanoi anymore. Looks like a little bit like Notre Dame Cathedral from Paris. But yeah, so it's a really interesting place to head around. And then next minute, you've got this very sort of oriental looking temple across the bridge on the lake. So we'll head around and see some of the sites. And then as part of that as well, we'll also have a portion of the trip. So portion of the trip will be sort of by, a little minibus taking us to some of the sites that are a bit further afield. And then in the centre of Hanoi, you have this really cool, all this like sort of old kind of French quarter. And in there, they have all the different markets. So you'll have like Silver Street, Gold Street, then you'll have streets that are just dedicated to like wooden lanterns and bird cages and things like that. So you're actually going to have some of these little rickshaws picking us up and driving us around, so you get to experience it kind of up close that way as well, which is really good fun. So there's like the flower market. So it's just a really sort of colourful place to head around. And this isn't far from our hotel either. So once we've done the trip, if you want to head back and have time to go and do a little bit of shopping, you'll have time to do that too. And then once we've finished the tour, this spot here with this kind of view of this crazy junction, it's like a popular spot where there's a few little bars and restaurants. So we'll just kind of finish up there and just have a few drinks and get some food. And our hotel is literally, so this is a really famous part of Hanoi, and our hotel is literally kind of a couple of 100 yards around the corner from there. You also get in Hanoi this really cool little thing where there's, again, lots of little street food options, and kind of the nightlife there is you'll just get loads and loads of locals sitting on what can only really be described as children's step chairs that you might see in like play school, basically just on the side of the road. So just these little kind of like plastic stools, you can just about see them there, but people kind of congregate on there and drink like local beer and street food and things. So we'll have a chance to join them and do a little bit of that. So that's our 2 nights in Hanoi. And then on our 3rd day, we will be heading out to Halong Bay. So most people who've ever heard of Vietnam or have had an urge to go there, Halong Bay is on their list. Some people have still never heard of it, but it's basically this beautiful kind of part of the coastline surrounded by kind of these sheer like limestone cliffs and really sort of turquoise emerald green water. So basically to experience this, rather than just do a day trip, we're going to get aboard one of these, it's like a converted traditional junk boat. So we're going to be staying on, this is the exact boat that we'll stay on, which I've been on and tested out on your behalf. I've also selected the boat that has ensuite cabins and balconies as well, because I thought, well, if you're going to do it, you should do it right, eh? So this is the boat. There's not a ton of rooms on there, but yeah, they've all got these lovely little cabins and balconies. So this is like an aerial view of the area of Halong Bay. So what's really nice as well about seeing it, about doing an overnight cruise, is that you get to see it during the day when the sun's shining, but you also get to experience sunset out there, and you also get to experience it kind of on a really misty morning. So it's all these kind of different parts of when it's really nice to see Halong Bay. It's like different kind of moods. There's a rooftop deck to the boat as well that you can head up to at any point. And the stars from up there are amazing. So once it gets to, you know, once the sun has set, it's a really beautiful spot just to head up there. So these are the bedrooms. So sort of quite traditional kind of Vietnamese style, kind of wooden panels and things like that. They're twin bedrooms. And then you literally could sort of sit on your bed, kind of open the curtains and the doors and kind of see these views kind of passing by your window as well, or go and sit on your balcony. And then when we're on the cruise as well, there will also be, as soon as we get onto the cruise, like that evening, there's a 3-course dinner provided, and in the morning there's like a light breakfast really early, and then you get another kind of brunch before we finish off for the day as well. So, and then as part of that trip, so one of the things that's really popular for people to do on a Halong Bay cruise is to actually get up close with some of the surrounding cliffs. So this is and caves and little beaches that kind of fill all the cliffs around there. So this is one of the things that is a thing that can get absolutely overrun. You can imagine it's one of the main tourist parts of Vietnam, and lots of people head there and want to do the same thing. So this is an example of where, you know, I kind of went and said, well, this is nice, but there's so many people. So the cruise company that I've selected actually have their own section of caves and beach that they can head to. So there's only that company that have access to it. So it's a lot less crowded than other parts, which is brilliant. So we go through this cave. So when we get dropped off, basically the ship will go so close, and then we just get a little boat to drop us off. And we walk through the cave to this really beautiful beach. Again, all the more beautiful because it's not absolutely packed with people. So these are my pictures from when I went to check it out. That's the boat in the distance. You might not be able to see it, but that's the cruise ship there. And then we just have a little hop over. So we'll go and do that. So have a little bit of activity, and then we're back onto the boat for the evening in time for happy hour and dinner and things like that. So, and to watch the sunset from the boat. So we'll stay overnight on the cruise ship, and then the next day, if you can get yourself up early enough, there is sunrise Tai Chi on the rooftop deck, if you would like to have a go at that. And then later in the morning, there'll also be the chance to head out again and do a little bit of kayaking. So we head through this little cave. I say little cave, it's quite open, but yeah, we get hop in kayaks, have a little paddle through there. It's not particularly strenuous. It's not like a 3-hour kayaking trip or anything. It's more like a little paddle around. So we head through into this little lagoon, which is full of monkeys. It's a good spot to, you can't see any at first when you first go through, and you think, oh, there's one. And then suddenly you realise there's actually tons of them. So it's a good little spot just to paddle up to the sides of the cliff and kind of spot for monkeys. And then then around kind of lunchtime, we then head back to the pier and we leave our cruise ship behind. And then we head off to our next stop, which is another part of North Vietnam, which is a place called Ninh Binh. Again, it's not a place that every group tour goes to, but to me, it's like a really beautiful part of the sort of North Vietnam countryside. And this is the hotel that we stay in. So again, very, very Vietnamese style. It's literally set out in the countryside. These are the rooms, again, quite traditional, but still luxurious and spacious. It just looks beautiful, this to me. That it's very sort of what you imagine when you go to Vietnam. So I tend to choose hotels that very much feel like the country that we're visiting, rather than, you know, kind of super modern hotels where you could be anywhere. So this is the grounds of the hotel. Oh, that's back on the cruise ship. So we'll head to there. We have a little bit of a couple of hours journey, and then we'll get there and just sort of chill out for the evening and get some dinner. And then the next day, we've got an action-packed day to head out and explore that area. So this is kind of an aerial view of the area. So it's sometimes described as the inland Halong Bay. Again, not everyone gets to go there, but these are some of the views. So you've got kind of just rice fields everywhere, again, soaring cliffs. And we'll head here. We've got kind of a full trip. So we start off with this going to Dragon Viewpoint. For those that are up for a bit of a climb, can have a climb up the steps. For those that are not, you can chill out in the lily pond garden at the bottom and wait for us to return. But these are the steps. We go up, and I did it, and I'm not super fit, so you know, you don't need to be. You don't need to, and we're in no rush either. So there are a few sort of steps, but any kind of cracking view usually involves having to climb a little bit. These are my pictures from climbing up there. So these are the views from the top. There, proof, I did it. So yeah, so there's really cool caves, and then yeah, at the bottom there's all these kind of like lily pond gardens, and then we also head to like the traditional, the oldest, what used to be the centre of Vietnam. So again, we go and see a little couple of temples. No kind of steps and stuff involved here, but go and check out. And we have a local guide as well to explain, you know, kind of the meaning of all this to us, what happened there in the past. Vietnam's got a really colourful history of all sorts, you know, so there's a huge amount to kind of learn about that place. And then we finish by going to Chang Yon Lake. So we basically hop onto these little boats that you can see, which are, you know, fearlessly steered by old Vietnamese ladies. I don't know where they get their strength from. Honestly, it's unbelievable, because I got in there when I did it, and there were 2 or 3 guys who were younger than me, and we were all tired after a while. You can sort of join in and help her to paddle, but even if you didn't, she just kind of like goes for it and takes you in the lake. But we basically paddle around the lake through all these little grottos and caves, and just, it's a really beautiful scenic spot. So you do like a bit of a loop, just soak up the scenery, and then head back. And all the driving all around that area, you just see lots of rice fields and farmers, you know, at work. It's not kind of a tourist thing. This is just their livelihood that they're working on. So then we head back to the hotel, and then the hotel as well, so that we will have some time that afternoon. So it's an early morning start, but we'll have some time in the afternoon. So there's an outdoor pool and an indoor pool, so you can get there and watch the sunset over the cliffs, and grab some dinner and just have a chill out back at the hotel. Then after that, so we're on day 6 now. So now we head to Hoi An, which is central Vietnam. So there will be a short flight. A lot of the internal flights are only about an hour, if that. So we head down to Hoi An. Hoi An is known as a place a must-see in Vietnam, and I can 100% agree with people after going and seeing it. It's so pretty. I think you can go off how good a place is by the amount of pictures that you've taken. It was just insane. I had so many pictures on my camera. So it's basically just like this kind of old, again, kind of quite old town, but full of really interesting sort of architecture and lanterns everywhere. So it's just like a beautifully lit place. There's loads of cute little, it's technically a city, but it doesn't feel like a city. It feels more like a little village. So you just kind of head around. There'll be lots of free time here as well, to sort of have a little wander, have a look in the shops. You can even have things like dresses and things made in the shops, in the tailor shops. And then we stay in a really beautiful hotel again here, 4-star luxury resort, which is set along the river. It has a couple of its own swimming pools, and these are the rooms that we stay in that are all kind of lined along this river, which is a big part of Hoi An. You can even get kayaks and have a little paddle or do a little bit of fishing for those that are interested in that on the river. Yeah, and that's one of the rooms as well. So it's a really lovely hotel. Again, very sort of Vietnamese in style, like a luxury hotel, but very sort of Vietnamese style. You can get little bikes as well and ride around the resort. So that day we will have flown, so we'll just head there, get into our hotel, have a little bit of chill out time, and then we'll just head out into Hoi An in the evening to have a little wander around, get some dinner and have a little wander around these pretty little lantern-filled streets. And then the next day, we will have some free time again, so you can head into the centre early if you want to walk around, or you can just chill out at the resort and enjoy that. But we'll be doing on this particular day a little treasure hunt, but focused around temples. So it's a really small little place. It's not somewhere where you can get lost, and there'll be little maps as well for you to follow. But it's a really cool place that you'll just be kind of wandering around the streets, and then you'll just turn around and there'll be this amazing little temple that's like something out of the movies, like this in particular. So we're going to do like a little treasure hunt to see what you can find, maybe work into teams. We'll see how it goes, how people are feeling. But yeah, it's just like we're basically just going to explore little Japanese bridge. And all through there as well, there's loads of little markets, again, which are genuinely kind of visited by local people, and just cool little spots to kind of sit and watch the world go by. It's actually got quite a lively little nightlife as well. That picture there I should have mentioned. There's loads of little art galleries, which are quite cool to go and have a little look around as well. It's a really interesting place. But yeah, also you can just have a seat and just kind of grab yourself a local beer and some Vietnamese food and watch the world go by as well. And the Vietnamese markets are an eye-opener, just to walk through there and kind of see see how people, like different foods and weird and wonderful things that kind of crop up at the market. There is also the option, if you want to have a go at making your own lantern. If you fall in love with this part of Hoi An and you think, you know what, I'd really like, you could just buy one to take home if you wanted to. But we have also got the option for you to join like a little lantern making class as well, if that's something that you fancy. So we'll actually have 3 nights in Hoi An, and the reason I've done that as well is we get a chance to explore, and in my experience, once we've had a busy few days on a tour, people quite often like just a bit of free time to go and have a wander and a look around as well. So on our 3rd day there, even if you've kind of seen all of Hoi An and you think you just want to chill, opposite our hotel, basically the resort, just over this little bridge is this beach, and there's a private part of the beach that belongs to our resort, so you can just go and chill out there as well and just have a little bit of a rest after all the activities we've been up to. And yeah, I mentioned before, like a couple of swimming pools in the resort as well. So breakfast is included everywhere that we stay, and I have to say it's of a really good standard. So there's generally like a buffet option for breakfast. So there's all sorts of weird and wonderful Vietnamese things that you can try, but there's also kind of, your traditional kind of Western favorites as well. And you can get these little bikes just to have a little cycle around the resort, and there's a spa. And then that will be the end of our Vietnamese portion of the trip, and we'll be heading over to Cambodia. So we'll have a flight over to Cambodia. Again, all the flights within the tour are included in the price. So we'll head over to Cambodia. And I have to say, when you do this, sometimes like Vietnam and Cambodia are kind of lumped together quite a lot as, 2 countries that you go and see. So I was really intrigued to see how different they might be, or if they were quite similar. Absolutely different, could not be more different. You'll get the feel for that as soon as you land. For anyone that's been to Thailand before, Cambodia feels a little bit more like Thailand in terms of the heat and the food and the culture, I guess, with the temples. Whereas Vietnamese, obviously Vietnam is in its own right Vietnamese, but it has a more of a kind of Chinese sort of feel and influence to it. So we'll head over to Cambodia, and obviously we'll have our flight that day. So again, try not to organise too many different activities when we've got a day of travel as well. So we'll fly over to Cambodia, head to our hotel. Again, another really beautiful hotel in a great location. Has a nice big swimming pool, nice rooms. So we'll just get there and have a little bit of chill out time. And then in the evening, we'll head out into the imaginatively named pub street of Siem Reap. Don't let that put you off. It's a really interesting place full of, again, sort of lantern filled, cool little place with little shops and bars and restaurants. So we'll head there in the evening for a few drinks and a little bit of a night out if people want it. And then the next day, we'll do a little bit more of exploring then. So we'll head into Siem Reap, and we'll actually see, there will be some time to just chill out by the pool, but we're also going to head in and explore and see some of the more, I say modern temples, the traditional temples, but they're temples that are in use. So what we're going to do the next day is more like a step back in time to kind of traditional old temples that are almost kind of bordering, well, ruins really in effect. So these temples today, as we walk around the city, will be temples that are currently, you know, in use by locals. So we'll have a little wander around there, around the local gardens and things. You can kind of go in and you know, experience it for yourself. If you're into that kind of thing, then you can actually go and you know, go up to make offerings, meet with the monks and things like that. So that day will just be kind of an exploring day, and then we'll be able to head back to our resort in the evening. So we won't be having too wild a night that night because we have quite a big day the next day and an early start. So this is the reason why most people travel to Cambodia, why literally millions of people every year go to Cambodia, and why it's pretty much on the tourist map, is to see a temple known as Angkor Wat, which is basically described as one of the most important temples in the world, one of the biggest temples in the world, and one of the most significant. So it's massive importance to all Cambodian people. It's actually featured on the flag of Cambodia. It's kind of a massive part of their identity. So this is kind of a pretty epic place. So when I did this, I was advised, and I did it, and it was amazing, to actually see it for the first time at sunrise. So we do have an early start this day. We'll be heading off while it's dark, which kind of adds to the excitement. And you literally kind of get into position, and this is effectively my picture of the sunrise as the temple sort of starts to kind of reveal itself. And then as the sort of sun comes out more and more, you can see more of the temple. That's what this picture is of. That isn't me. Just to confirm. I was too busy looking at the temple to take that picture. This is kind of an aerial view of the temple as well, kind of with the moat around it. So clearly in the middle of nowhere. But yeah, so this is huge, I think it's like 402 acre site. We won't be walking around all of that, so don't worry, Carly, you won't need to, but actually cover 402 acres.
I mean, I'll give it a go.
Yeah, so we'll watch the sunrise from the outside and kind of take all that in, and then we'll again have a local guide with us to explain all the intricacies of that temple, how it was built, what it means. It actually started off, it was built in the 12th century, and it was started off as a Hindu temple, and then it's been changed gradually over the years to a Buddhist temple, and then it's been changed back again, and then it's been changed. So it's actually kind of a really interesting place as you go around. They tell you little stories, how even just things like the Hindu gods and Buddhas have had like their eyes changed and everything to represent different religions, and there's tons of different markings and stuff as you go around. So it is really interesting hearing that story from a local guide as well. I'm not going to attempt to cover that level of history. It's always good to get a local person to do that. So we'll go and see the main one, Angkor Wat, and then there's tons. You could go to Siem Reap and spend 2 weeks looking around temples if you wanted to. We basically see the highlights of some of the more famous ones in sort of the first day. So this is another one. So this is a temple called Taprom, which is known as the Jungle Temple, and it's basically a temple that's effectively being swallowed by the jungle. So it's been there so long that actually the trees, this picture that you can see here is obviously trees that have kind of taken roots and burst through the kind of the roof of the temple and then just kind of taken over them. So it's just like a really dramatic space. If you ever wanted to get a picture of yourself at some point in a temple, this is the spot. I'm not saying that this is how you should do it. I have my tour guide with me, he had me in so many different positions. I was like, enough now. But he was like, here, stand here, do this, do this. And I was like, okay, I just want to actually look at the temple. But if you do want to get a picture of yourself at a temple, this is the spot. But yeah, this Taprom temple was actually featured in the Tomb Raider film. So it's been used as like a couple of different movie sets. I think it might have been in Indiana Jones somewhere as well. So yeah, very sort of atmospheric place to walk around and check out. And then there's a third temple that we'll visit this day, which is called Bayon Temple. I think this one's actually my favorite. So there's just literally like the smiling Buddha faces. There's just hundreds of them wherever you look. So again, this is just an interesting place to walk around. So this is one of the poses that you got me to do. You can see the slide. Fine, I'll do it on my face. But yeah, really interesting place to walk around and explore. So we'll do that, and obviously we'll have been up early, so we'll not keep you out too long. It's not like a full day tour, so sort of by like lunchtime, early afternoon, you'll probably be in need of a bit of a rest. And you will notice in Cambodia that it's hot. So it'll be hotter than Vietnam. So that's another reason why we do this in the morning. And then you'll have time to head back to the pool and just sort of chill out, maybe have a little snooze on a sun lounger if you like. And then, so there's a lot of action-packed stuff there. So then we're into the last little portion of the trip. So we're going to be flying from Siem Reap to a place called Sihanoukville, which I know is a difficult place to pronounce. And then we'll be heading to Korong Samlem Island. So this is basically the view of that island from above. Again, this is a place that not a lot of people on group tours head to. But for me, looking at all the activities and everything we do on this trip, it is action-packed. And like I say, on other trips, I've always tried to sort of finish off somewhere a bit more chilled out. And for me, you can't really beat a tropical island for chill out time before you head home. So I went here, I went to a couple of the other islands as well, and chose this one as my favourite. So we get a ferry over. And then these are my pictures. It's literally just paradise. It's just like white powder soft sand, turquoise sea, palm trees. We rock up onto the beach, and then our resort is right on the beach. It's the only resort on the island that has its own kind of, not that you need it because there's the sea, but like beachfront infinity pool. There's hammocks all lined up in the sea that you can just go and pop into. Yeah, this is the view. This is my picture from our pool, basically. And then we stay in these beachfront bungalows, which are literally right on the beachfront. So you'll have sea views from here. So this is the view from kind of like the window, the doors that you'll open from your bungalow out onto the beach. So I think that's a pretty good place to have a chill out for a few days before we head home. So we don't have a ton of different activities arranged here because we've done all sorts already, but there are still things to do. So other than just, sunbathe and have a lounge, there are little walks that you can do to the other side of the island, see some different beaches. This is kind of the restaurant and bar area of our hotel. It's a really cool place to just hang out. Really nice food and stuff there. Or like I say, just walking along the beach and checking out the other places is really nice as well. Lots of little kind of funky little beach bars and places to chill out. So we'll be traveling that day, and then when we'll arrive, we'll just chill, basically. And again, that's pretty much the plan for the next kind of couple of days. So there is snorkeling if you would like to do it. You can do it out during the day, just straight from the beach. Or there's also the opportunity to head out in the evening for those that are up to it, and you can do a bit of a nighttime snorkeling trip because they have plankton there basically, which kind of glows in the dark at night, and it's a really beautiful place to watch the stars as well. So that's an option for something to do. And there's also kayaking, Bloody Marys for those that are into that kind of thing, just chilling by the pool, loads of just beautiful little spots to kind of soak up where you are. And this amazing little spa, it's only small, but it's right on the beachfront, so you can go in there and get massages and stuff. And then lots of little beach bars like this where you can just chill out. And yeah, the snorkeling right off the beach is pretty good. usually by this point people are pretty happy just to chill, but sometimes people are like, nope, more activities, whatever there is, I want to do it. So, you know, there is stuff there for you to do. And then, as usual, on any tour, we'll have plans in the evening. We'll say we're going to meet at 7 or whatever, 7 or 8 o'clock, and we'll head to this restaurant, or you can just choose to chill if you like and do your own thing. And then that's us. So that's our last day then on day 15. And that's basically when we'll be traveling back to Sihanoukville. So we'll get the ferry back. And then as advice for people for onward flights home, you could basically start looking at flights kind of after kind of 12 o'clock, just to allow us time to get you back to Sihanoukville. And then depending on, I'm just going to stop that there. And then depending on where you're flying to and when you're flying, there tends to be flights around sort of 1:30 to places like Bangkok or Ho Chi Minh or Kuala Lumpur. It just depends on the actual where it is that you're going on from for there. So I know a few people have booked some flights already. Some people have asked me about booking flights. So feel free to ask me anything about the tour now or anything else or about flights. Does anyone have any questions about the tour, first of all? No.
I have a small question.
Go on.
Can you actually fish in that river?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
In Hoi An, yeah.
Oh, exciting.
It's my backup for if you can't.
You literally just had to research fishing this afternoon.
No, I already knew that. So yeah, no, you can, because it's not like it might look like it's almost like a feature of the hotel, but it's not. It's the river in Hoi An. It's just that the hotel has been built around that river, so you can actually fish in that river and you can kayak out to that, you know, out of that river into the kind of main body of the river as well, if you should wish. Yeah.
Cool.
Don't worry, you'll be able to fish somewhere, I'm sure. Carl is the only person that's really latched onto the fishing element, because on the Halong Bay cruise, I didn't even mention, there's like a couple of activities as well as the like little day trips from the boat that we do. They do little things like in the evening they do like a little bit like a spring roll making competition, which was really good fun when I did it, and they get people up to sort of competing as to how fast they can roll a spring roll, and then you have the opportunity to go and do a bit of squid fishing off the back of the boat at night. People latched onto things like Halong Bay and Hoi An, it's so beautiful, and Carly's like, squid fishing, oh my god. So it's become a bit of a running joke that like Carly's more excited about squid fishing than any of the other amazing stuff that will be.
And you did mention it before and I started getting worried, I'm not gonna lie.
Don't worry, we'll make it happen. Yeah, so does anyone else have any other questions about the trip itself? Anything that I've mentioned? I try and run through that, but it's very difficult to run through each day without going into quite a lot of detail. So I've probably filled your heads with more than enough information. But if you do have any questions about anything, or the hotels or travel, is there anything? Oh, there's something in the chat that I've probably missed. What is a typical Vietnamese breakfast? Oh, that's a good question, Nikki. So there's all sorts. They do love their noodles over there. So there will be some form of noodles for breakfast for sure. It's probably the typical Vietnamese thing. So a bit like if you're in Thailand and they'll have, you know, kind of, you know, stir fries and rice or curries and rice as an option for breakfast, and you'll get kind of noodles and things like that as an option. You get sort of dim sum quite a lot as well. As an option for breakfast, but there will always be kind of, you know, not just kind of, you know, eggs on toast, but, you know, there's usually the buffet sort of selection. There's all sorts of stuff to choose from. So yeah, there's lots of non-Vietnamese stuff as well. But it's quite nice when there's a buffet like that, because then that's a good time to try things that you might not otherwise be so confident to order as your main dish. You know, if you were just paying for it and you think, I'm not sure about noodles for breakfast, but, you know, you can just have a little taster and see.
Yeah, we're just being nosy. So
it's a good question. I mean, the food's a massive part of it. The food, it's so interesting in Vietnam, honestly. I think that's the most interesting place I've ever been for food. You know, some of it's weird and wonderful and you think, what on earth is that? But yeah, most
I know when you did the recce, you sent me the mussel men.
Oh yeah, I was going to say, I feel like I've sent you a picture of something to do with the food. And I might have even shown you some strange chicken wing feet thing.
Oh no, the chicken feet, yeah. I
That's
want
the
to
one
try
I was
that.
thinking of. I'm sure
Oh,
I've
yeah.
shown, when you asked me this
I like-
before, but
yeah.
I'm sure I've shown you that picture before. That's not selling it, so that doesn't make it onto the virtual tour because that. But it's still interesting just to see. It's interesting to see different foods and stuff, isn't it, in different countries? But
Yeah,
good stuff.
I'll still try the frog mussel-men though. So.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's got to be done. Yeah, there's tons of different street food options and different things like that. So yeah, it's a good place to try different things, or at least just be like, yeah, soak it up and think, what is this? Yeah.
Well, they're even using crickets on Bake Off now, so.
How great are they?
Made it into the mainstream.
Yeah. No, it's all part of it, isn't it? Trying the local food. So yeah. And there's quite a lot of, well, it's like that everywhere, but there'll be chances. So we will always have plans in the evening to sort of meet for meals and stuff in like nice restaurants, but there'll also be a chance to just kind of have a wander around and just kind of try some street food and stuff as well. We don't always have to be, eating everywhere together every evening, or a couple of places have actually just factored it in that we'll go and try out some street food. So all part of it.
Can't wait. I'm so excited.
Yeah, me too. Can't wait to try some actual proper real life crickets.
Yeah, and the food is, like I say, it's quite different. I know when I got to Cambodia, it was similar sort of Thai stuff, so curries and things like that, a little bit spicier. But yeah, just all sorts, just so much choice. But again, places that are visited, a lot by tourists, so they do have kind of non-Vietnamese and Cambodian food as well for when you fancy that. Any other questions about anything?
I've got a question, Mel.
Oh, sorry, go on, Stacey.
Oh, sorry. So obviously I'm booked on for Thailand next week, so I'm really, really excited, and I'm pre-planning I'm pre-planning already to see if I can maybe do this one as well. So just down to expense and stuff.
Yeah.
What kind of, I know it's difficult because everyone's different, but spending money and stuff, what would you say you would need for this kind of trip?
I would say it's probably similar kind of costs to Thailand.
Yeah.
A little bit much, in some places cheaper and in some places more expensive. So for example, on the island in Cambodia, for example, things are a bit more expensive there than like on islands in Thailand. But that's mainly because there's not a huge amount of people that go there. So it sort of falls into the thing of not many people go there for them to import certain stuff. It's kind of, you pay a little bit of a premium for it. But again, that's probably because we stay at like the nicest place on the island as well. So if we eat there and have like, a glass of wine there or a cocktail, it'll be more expensive than it would be kind of just in a random bar in Thailand on an island. Because those islands are probably, it's hard to say, but it's kind of the only one of its kind. There's not lots of different tropical islands in Cambodia to visit. So there's kind of two main ones off the coast of Cambodia. One's called Koh Rong and the other one's Koh Rong Samluang. And the other one, Koh Rong, which I went to as well, is more like the backpacker one. So that's sort of seen as like the cheaper one. And then the one that we go to, which is like, because it's interesting to go to that one as well, but there's parts of it that are a bit dirty and a bit kind of mad and full of backpackers and kind of, a bit crazy. So we go to kind of like the nicer islands. So for that reason, it's almost like, oh, people have gone to the nicer islands, so we'll charge them a bit more. But it's still not very expensive compared to, most places in the world. But I would just say maybe you just might need a little bit more, but we're talking like maybe a couple of £100 more. So I've sort of said £500-600 for Thailand, but maybe, a couple of £100 more, but not much. And again, there's always kind of cheaper options if you are trying to sort of not just, splash the cash and eat out and do that every night. So it's similar because it's Southeast Asia, so it's a similar kind of pricing to things really. And again, you've got so many different activities and stuff included. There's not much that you would need extra spending money for.
Yeah, great, thank you.
That tour itself is, you know, a little bit more expensive, and that's basically because there's flights involved, you know, because we fly, whereas in Thailand we don't have the flights, but it's all, you know, speedboat and overland travel, whereas in Vietnam and Cambodia we have quite a few, but we have like, what is it, so we have 3 kind of internal flights, and then we have a flight from Vietnam to Cambodia as well, so that's why the actual tour price is a bit more, but spending wise probably similar.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you.
No problem.
Can I ask for the tours where we've got local guides and things like that, do we have cash that we tip them with? Is that the culture
Kind of the culture in Southeast Asia is that it is not expected at all, you know, like for example if you go to the States it's pretty much expected, and it's like quite a high amount that's expected, so you'd be like, hang on, I've got to factor this into my whole budget and everything for food and guides and everything, but in Southeast Asia it's not expected at all, and literally if you were to give anything it's generally extremely appreciated and well received. So even if you were to just give a little bit or give nothing, I generally give, you know, like I will tip our guide as we kind of go along, and things like that, but it's completely optional. If you feel like really blown away, this guide has really, you know, really gone out of his way or her way to kind of, you know, make this a special day, then you feel like you want to, then you can, but it's not like that, oh, we finish a trip and everyone has to kind of put the hand in the pocket and get kind of money out. It probably doesn't happen that often. People tend to not tip more than they do tip. And then if people do want to give something, they're normally just quite subtle about it and just give a little bit of something, and then they're extremely grateful and gracious about it. So it's not like expected at all.
Thank you.
I've got a few questions, sorry.
No problem. No, don't be sorry. I'm here.
I'm like someone who's not done anything like this before, so the flights and stuff that we've got to sort of get there in the first place, is there any sort of tips and stuff for that, or anything that would come out closer to the time that, I know you said that some people have already booked them, but I wouldn't know the first place to even look.
Yeah, no, don't worry. The main thing, and I can certainly help you with that. In the past, I did help people and even book some flights, but as I've mentioned to a couple of people recently, since COVID and everything, the prices have just gone up insane, you know. So obviously, if I book them, then I have to book them through like an official trade partner, and I don't have much choice. So it's pretty much the price that they tell me it's going to be, and I think they've just added on more than they used to add on, because of just the convenience or inconvenience of sorting it. So literally sometimes it's like a few £100 more that they add on. So and then actually another reason is generally I found that again after COVID, sometimes you're in a better position booking more direct than you are through a third party. It's like you almost get a quicker service if you're sort of booking direct with the airline, rather than you know, through a third party, like an agent like myself, or, you know, my trade partner or whatever. But that said, obviously my main focus is getting you to the tour and you being comfortable, you know, because obviously that's a big part of it, is getting there. So I can absolutely help you with that. The main thing to just know is, for most people, we'll just travel out, you know, for the tour itself. So arrive on the day that the tour starts and leave on the day that the tour finishes. But sometimes people will say, oh no, I'm gonna get there, I'd like to get to Hanoi maybe a day, like the night before, so that I can have a, you know, some people will say I'm not a great flyer, I don't want to sort of fly and then go straight into the tour. So sometimes people will say I'm going to do that, or I might have a stopover somewhere, like Bangkok or something on the way. I don't know, but I imagine with yourself, if you're kind of new to this, you probably will just want to travel straight there for the tour and not maybe have time on your own anywhere.
I've travelled solo before, somewhere before, but it's a completely different culture. On that side of the world, so it'd be well out of my comfort zone.
No, and that's understandable, and most people are in the same boat really. And then that's why we have like a little Facebook group for the tour, for each of the tours, just about to set the March one up. So March ladies that are thinking, I have that invite yet, I'll set it up for the Feb tour, and share that, because I know a couple of people have been booking flights for there. But absolutely I can, you're Lancashire, aren't you, Amy? Where
near Blackburn.
Blackburn, let's say near Blackburn, yeah. So it'd probably be Manchester for you.
Yeah, it would
So
be.
I would say there'll be definitely people travelling from Manchester, because there's always people going from Manchester.
Yeah.
So yeah, we can have a little look at like the best flights for you that head out. So if I know that you're interested in the Feb tour, it's kind of like, it's worth looking kind of at the point when you know you're kind of thinking about booking, because they change so much.
Yeah.
So if I know that you're kind of interested in thinking about that Feb trip, they can have a little look at.
Well, that was the other question, was just obviously I know you've got the 2 tours, and the only reason I'm interested in the February one is because I've been looking at weather, and it might be slightly hotter in the March one. I don't know if that's something that you would agree with.
They're that close together, there's not much difference really. And all of the tours are basically because we cover different areas, so we've got North and Central Vietnam and then Cambodia, so pretty much year round Cambodia is hot. It's always hot in Cambodia, but we try to, the dates that I choose are basically the best weather across all of those places. So you tend to find it's a bit cooler in North Vietnam, for example, than it is than the other places. But I still have chosen those as being the best possible weather in each spot. And they're that close, there's not a massive difference between them. But yeah, like I say, so was there any particular place that you looked at the weather for? Or?
No, it was just in random trying to decide which one to go with, and it seems most people seem to be going on to the March one, but I just didn't know which one to go on. I just picked the random one, to be honest.
Well, there are people booked onto the February one. I know obviously we've got quite a few people here that are on the March one, so it might feel like everyone's on that one. But yeah, if anything, it was the February one that had filled up to about halfway point sooner than the March one. So there are, kind of pretty much equal amount of people on that one too. So it's just having to think really which one. I suppose which dates kind of work best for you as well. If it makes any difference to you.
Not so much really. I can book when I need after it, but no, that's great, thanks.
But if you want, I can send you an email of just as a starting point. Like if it was me, I was traveling from Manchester for the Feb tour. I'll just send you some examples of flights, and then you can. It's a bit of a starting point, then, isn't it?
Thank you. Yeah.
And then you can have a look. So I normally just use like the Skyscanner website. I check everything, so I can I'll just pop it all in an email, and then once you've got that, you might think, oh, okay, I know the gist, I can have a little search myself. But it's like it's the coming back as well, so that's the trickier bit. It's not tricky, but it's trickier than the going out bit, because we finish in Sihanoukville, so there's like a little connection that you need to get, but it's best explained in an email, I think. I mean, I can explain it now, but it also, I'm conscious this goes over people's heads a little bit when I'm just talking about it. In my head, it's like ingrained in here, so it's probably better to have it kind of in an email. I know, Victoria, we had that chat, didn't we, this week about flights, and then I just sent you an email with it, and it was like, oh, actually, yeah, that sort of looks a bit more related. So yeah, so I'll do that. I shall make a little note to send you the flight. Does anyone else have any other questions for me? Nikki, did you say you'd booked your flights? Have I heard you book your flights for March? She might not be there. Can't see you.
Sorry, yeah, I was just unmuting. Yeah, my flights are booked.
Nice. Have you got? Are you going via anywhere in particular, or?
Hold on. Get my notepad out.
Don't worry if you can't remember.
I very nearly booked the same flights as you and Zoe, but I've kind of made the decision to go for the ones like the day earlier, just so I had an extra day there. Because you and Nikki, you and Zoe have got the exact same ones, haven't you?
Yeah, we're going to Manchester to Dubai, and then Dubai to Hanoi, and then we travel back via, I can't pronounce this place.
Is it Sihanoukville that you leave from?
Yes.
Well,
I keep saying Shamalamagan, ding dong. So that's Kuala
I'm
Lumpur.
going to start using that, Nikki. That's how I'm going to call it from now on.
But yeah, there's Kuala Lumpur, then Kuala Lumpur to Dubai, then Dubai to Manchester. So yeah, that's what we've got sorted.
Yeah, so you probably have like, there's like a 1:35 flight with Air Asia or something like that to Kuala Lumpur.
It's a 1:35.
So that'll be similar to the one you were looking at, Victoria, for the connection out of Sihanoukville. So there's a couple of people on that flight.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna try and book that flight tomorrow. I think I'm doing it directly with Air Asia. Just that leg, because the travel agent, the trail finders can't use Air Asia, I think. So I'm going to
I thought that might be why they would kind of like mentioning about Phnom Penh and things like that. I thought they probably can't, because I've had that with my trade partner before. That was another thing. They were like, oh, we don't work with them now, or they used to, but they obviously just don't pay them commission or anything, so they just won't work with them. Behind the scenes stuff, sometimes that's what goes on when you're restricted by a travel agent. It's they just if there's not much in it for them, they won't do it.
It's fair enough.
But even do anything with the flights, like I say, even if I can't book them for you, I can certainly help you out. Or if you've had a look yourself, you can always just send me as a sense check. Or if you're just like, help, I'm lost, I don't know where to start, just let me know and I can help you out. Did anyone else have any other questions about anything? For anyone that's not already booked as well, I know we're having this event now, but generally for every tour that I do, we have like a little Zoom event just for that trip, so that just before we go, so you will have a chance to actually meet other people, and just like I'm doing at the moment for the Thailand group, I've got everyone's kind of flights that they've booked, and then I'm going to share that with the group to sort of say, we've got 5 people coming from Manchester, then we've got 2 coming from London, and actually you don't know this, but you're going to be getting to Doha at the same time, so you can arrange to meet at that airport and then get on the next flight and all that kind of stuff. So we do share everything with each other before you go. If you just want to do your own thing, that's absolutely fine, but most people are kind of like, oh, is there anyone else on my flight? Can I join up with them, or can I at least know I'm meeting someone at the airport? So I know particularly for people, if you've not done anything like this before, or even if you have, it's just nice to know there's other people on the trip that are traveling out at a similar time. And do you know what's weird? Actually, a lot of people have ended up sitting really close to, sometimes next to each other on the plane, and then have realized that they're on the Travel Queen tour when they get to the other side, which I just find amazing, because there's so many people on a plane, and they'll get there and they'll be like, oh, I've been sat next to you the whole time, or like I've seen you the whole way around.
Vicky, didn't that happen to you with Hawaii? Wasn't it somebody that not Hawaii, Vegas? Somebody ended up being like right next to somebody, like another travel queen person, and they were just like,
might have been Yasmin, and I'm not sure. I've lost now.
It was somebody across that trip somewhere.
It's happened. It was strange. It was like, who was that? That's weird.
I know I had it on a Croatia tour, because I was talking to 2 guys that were next to me on the plane. And then Geordie Vicky, she turned around and she was like, oh, are you part of Travel Queen? And I was like, yeah.
That's funny. She overheard you telling someone else, and she was like, I am too. Yeah, no, it's nice when that works, when that sort of pans out as well.
I say a small world, but we'll make it a big world.
Nice. And on that bombshell. Right, so if no one else has any other questions, I hope that's been useful, ladies. Hope you've given you a bit of an insight into it, and it's always nice to just see some of the faces, isn't it, of people that are either booked on or thinking about it. So yeah, I hope that's helped. And like I say, if you think of any of the questions that you didn't kind of want to ask right now, but it's made you think, or if anything crops up, just drop me a message, let me know. And Amy, I'll send you those flights as well, so you could be having a
Lovely, thank you.
As well.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks, ladies. Nice
Thanks.
to see you all.
Thank you. Bye.
I'll see you next week, Stacey.
See you next week.
And Rachel. She's still here. And thanks, Annabelle. Bye.